Imagine that your mind got stuck on a certain thought or image. Then, this thought or image got replayed in your mind over and over again, creating intense feelings of anxiety and fear. You don't want these thoughts, but you can't stop them. You might recognize that the fear may seem unreasonable, yet it still feels very real, intense, and true. This is exactly what I experienced in 3rd grade, when I forgot to complete my homework several times, and some might be thinking that's because I'm Asian, and I'm trying to be perfect, but it might be, but other than that. I was absolutely terrified of being punished because there was always the punishment system for not completing your homework, and as a student, I was trying to strive for that perfection, and when I forgot to complete my homework several times, it started to get to me where I was where I constantly checked for the completeness of my homework. And no matter how many times I checked, the thoughts and fear would come back and until school had actually started. This was the first sign of my OCD. Now, what exactly is OCD? OCD is also known as obsessive compulsive disorder. It is a psychological disorder that is characterized by unwanted repetitive thoughts known as obsessions, and sometimes accompanied by actions that relieve that anxiety known as compulsions. A person diagnosed with OCD can have either one or both these symptoms. Currently, there are 4 million people in total in the US, 3 million adults and 1 million children. And however, is OCD just simply another psychological disorder that prevents one from living a comfortable life? When I was in 5th grade, I found a moth in my room, and my mother told me to not touch it or just wash my hands after I touched it, because she said that apparently the moth's dust, which are just scales, would actually that the moth's dust would cause blindness, which is just irritation. Due to my young age and lack of proper research, I believed in this ridiculous urban myth and applied it to normal dust and dirt as well. This resulted in my fear of somehow being contaminated and causing self-blindness. In the beginning of 6th grade, I started to see everything that was not in my house as unsanitary. This may have been due to a problem with my brain, where the pathway that linked the areas of judgment and planning, there was a problem with the pathway between that part and a part that filters messages involving body movement in my brain. As a result, I started to wash my hands far more frequently and thoroughly, and even shower for longer periods of time, all of these actions taking about 2 to 3 hours a day. It resulted in very dry and bloody hands because I had washed off all those natural oils, and it was really painful. Despite the irrationality of these actions, I couldn't really stop doing these actions, these ritualistic behaviors, because the thoughts and fear and anxiety would just keep on coming back, and I had to perform these to just get rid of it. The cycle of OCD normally goes like this. A person first has an obsession, followed by anxiety, and then a compulsion to relieve themselves of that anxiety, and finally temporary relief. In the middle of my 6th grade year, my OCD progressed to where I started to see certain people as being dirty as well, because I saw them as weird in my eyes. As a result, I avoided as much contact as possible, such as not shaking their hands or even touching an object or anything they had touched. The anxiety and obsession began hard to stop as time went on, and the symptoms got worse, where functioning as a normal person was near impossible, as I had to constantly monitor little things that OCD kept on throwing at me. Near the end of the year, I pushed away everyone, including my friends and family, because I was too scared of going blind to maintain a healthy relationship with them. I was constantly angry, cursing my friends, and even isolating myself in my room and trying to stay away from my parents. I even had my parents call my teacher to move me away from what I thought were friends, at least, and it had made me pretty lonely. At that moment, near the end of the year, my friend came after school and screamed at me to stop avoiding him. And at that moment, I felt really guilty, but I just couldn't explain to him, nor even to myself, as to why I was having these thoughts, these anxiety problems, and I just couldn't really make up or even be friends with them for a while. As of this point in time, there are several treatments. One is just taking medications, just pills. But I'm not sure why this medication would have, an organization. But And there was also another treatment known as cognitive behavioral therapy, which involves a person who has OCD to be exposed to their fears and to try to overcome them. However, there's still no absolute cure, though that people who go through these treatments can return to normal or near normal functioning. My trip to Korea was a similar type of treatment, though it's not really an actual treatment. It was just, it was really an eye-opener for me. After I met several homeless people on the streets, and I was quite surprised that they were blind because they were living in such poor conditions. And also, I was forced to shower in about 2 minutes a day, rather than taking like 30 minutes or an hour a day trying to get rid of that anxiety and fear. When eventually I got so tired of dealing with this that eventually I finally decided to take my first action and actually just not wash my hands after getting really dirty and rubbing my eyes with it, but it was probably not a good idea because I got red eyes afterwards. But after that, the burden of having OCD had been lifted. OCD wasn't just a problem, it was a huge problem, but it was a life lesson. I was previously arrogant and stubborn with how I saw my ideas as being far superior than those of others and trying to put them down for being, at least what I thought, as inferior. I also ran away from always ran away from my problems, as you can see from my experience, where I tried to avoid trying to face those fears. Due to this experience, I learned to be more open to different ideas and to really face those challenges head on instead of just trying to avoid them or go to like a shortcut. Just because OCD wasn't a part of your life doesn't mean that it doesn't really apply to you. Because of this experience, I challenge each and every one of you to face the obstacles in front of you with an open mind, because there is no other life lesson greater than what your life can provide. Thank you.